Welcome to this week's Hymn of the Week. This week we have ELW number 756, Eternal Father, Strong to Save. The text composed by William Whiting, who actually wrote the text for one of his students who was to sail or about to sail to America. So it's very well known that this title of a sailor's hymn, the Navy hymn, all this is carried over. So that obviously makes sense because of the reason it was composed. We also know that this text itself is very popular in the United States. It's found in the Naval Academy Chapel in Annapolis, Maryland. And the text is right above the chancel of Eternal Father, Strong to Save. It was played, it was a favorite hymn of Franklin Roosevelt, one of our presidents, and it was played at his funeral, and it was also played at John F. Kennedy's funeral. So this text carries over through the history of the United States, and it's definitely allied, as I mentioned earlier, to the state as well as to the church. So enough about the text. To start, let's look at the music. John Bacchus Dykes, who actually composed this music for the text that was constructed in 1860. And so this music has a very simple question-answer relationship, or antecedent consequent, as we would say in music. And we're going to listen to that. So there's the first half of the phrase. And there's the second half. And then here's the second part. And then the answer. So very predictable question-answer relationship from Dykes, who composed this for that text. The other thing to think about is it's also known as a prayer. If we look in most of the verses, we have for those in peril on the sea, or those in peril on the land, or those in peril, or hear us when we cry to thee. So it's known as a prayer as well. And so that's carried through all the way to today. Now, when I play the hymn, I think it's important to keep most of the parts the way they were composed. There's a certain genius that comes through of John Dykes with the way he's composing. Not just honoring contrary motion between the parts, but also putting in chords that fit the harmonic movement, but also create harmonic interest. So here is Eternal Father, Strong to Save.
Be
thank Noel Rossthorn. I used his arrangement for the last verse, and also Hal Hobson for the introduction. The tune name, which I didn't mention earlier, was Melita. I like to think of it like the coffee, but it actually has a little more significance than Melita coffee. It's the island that Paul in the Bible was shipwrecked upon. So it makes sense to title this Melita, the answers about dealing with challenges that would not just face someone shipwrecked, but also challenges in their lives, is contained within this hymn. So as you sing it and play it in the future, try to remember that, and I will as well, that these answers and questions about our faith that relate to being challenged or shipwrecked are a way and form of worship that when we set those aside in God's hands, things change. The waves, like of the sea, begin control. God takes control, and then the Eternal Father is strong to save. Thank you very much for listening to Hymn of the Week.